Okay, guys, we're going to get going. So welcome everyone for joining us again on a Thursday evening. It's looking nice outside, and we have the return to soccer phase 2. Still some social distancing, but what we want to talk about tonight is really goal setting and some mental skills. And I like the slide there. The trouble with not having a goal is that you spend your life running up and down the field. Goals give you a direction, your players a direction, and there's individual goals, collective goals, and everyone's going to need to have a vision on where they're going. Otherwise, we get lost. So I'm going to work with Claire here just to progress this, the PowerPoint. And again, Claire, please. So just a bit of background on my development. Although I'm manager of Grassroots for Alberta Soccer, my education took me through Manchester Metropolitan University to a Masters in Sport and Exercise Science. And what I'm going to talk about tonight is really from an experiential learning perspective. So working with lots of athletes and teams over the last 30 odd years. And even for myself, as some of you might know, I go out and race Ironman triathlon, and quite successfully. This is me in Hawaii. And I've had to apply a lot of my mental skills to that. Now, I want to put a question out there, and please use the chat box. I'm going to wait for a couple of answers to come in first. How old should you be as a coach or as a parent before you start applying mental skills to athletes? You know, because generally the perspective has been we wait till athletes are elite high performance players and then they break down, so we start applying mental skills then. So what age do you think you should start applying mental skills to athletes? If anyone can put that in the chat box, that'd be great. Someone put an answer in there, please. What age? As soon as they start playing, Ian. So what age is that? Would you do it with 4-year-olds? Okay, so 10 and 12. I like the answers there. We're looking at learning to train stage when we're introduced in the game. So we do it with 4-year-olds. Okay. Can we move forward, Claire? Yeah. So often, working for the last 20 years in mental skills on top of coaching, the call often go, I liken it to the Mario brother, the plumber. We often get the call when something's gone wrong. Help, my child's having anxiety, they've lacked confidence. And in a sense, I'll agree with Ian. We want to bring in some resilience to children as soon as possible. So that may be some simple goal setting to start with, which is why I'm presenting on that tonight. If we can prepare children before the pipes break, then we stand a chance. So again, we're going to look at goal setting, but there are other strategies out there as well that you can use. So go on, Claire. Now, again, I'm like I say, I'm certainly encouraging it by, and a lot of you, I'm pleased to see, said the learning to train stage. When we come into the learning to train stage, and I talked about this on the preferred training model webinar, is when we start doing peer evaluation. And by that, I mean the players start evaluating each other and they understand why the fast boy is always put out in the wing and the boy who doesn't like running may be going in goal or whatever. So peer evaluation comes in, and that's where we can really start working on bending the mind slightly to understand certainly roles. I think I've said about this before, getting children to understand what benefits they've got, what habits they entail when they play. So we're going again, Claire. Now, I want to say that mental skills, I've been working in it and I've seen lots of coaches apply it in their coaching generally. And I see a lot of people doing it, a PowerPoint presentation, and you can't do too much mental skills in a classroom. You've got to be on the field. And I'm saying there, the role of a mental skills performance coach is to ask the right questions, to draw the answers out of the athletes. And quite often when coaches do it, they do it the other way around, and they will be presenting the answers to the player. You need to think about this. You need to do this. And I'm saying, no, we should be asking the right questions to tease those answers out of the players. So why did you pass the ball there? What other options were open to you? like I say, the role of a team coach quite often is to coach techniques and tactics. So when we start merging the two, it's a challenge. And one of the roles that I've taken on is working at Mount Royal. I've been doing the mental skills there for 3 years. And as an A licensed coach, I don't do any coaching. I work purely with the coaches and some of the players on the mental skills. So I sort of divorced my two hats, and I focus purely there on the mental skills. Whereas when I'm working with a team, I work on the techniques and tactics. So like I say there, I made a point of not coaching. I didn't. Some of the boys there probably didn't know my background in soccer, and that benefited me and the coaches. And you know, we also looked at trying to define the culture and changing some of the cultural aspects of the previous 2 years. And it was great to see that the players done really well last season, became Prairie champions. Getting ready for this season, and sadly, youth sport is now being cancelled. So again, I just want you to think mental skills and team coaching, you can blend them, but you've got to be really, really careful. And sometimes it's going to be better to get someone in, if you're working high performance or something, someone who's going to focus just on the mental skills to support the coaches who are going to do the technique and tactical aspects of the game. Goal setting theory. Just want you to quickly read through this. And generally it's saying you can't just set out goals. I done them with a team recently. I'd done a goal setting. We set out a practice of asking the coaches, coaches asked the players to devise goals for the coming season. And these were, again, it wasn't Mount Royal, it was student coach players, and the goals were very weak, and they needed the input of myself to challenge them. So I'll allude to some of these in a moment, but really, if you're going to do goal setting, the athletes, although they may understand the smarter principles on the right there, they still need support and questioning on those. So again, looking at the smarter approach, the first one is specific. It says smarter there, but it should be specific. You want to set specific goals. Then they've got to be measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. And I love the last two because normally we do SMART goals only. The last two are really, really key. Evaluate and readjust. Then we go again. So in defining a goal, that may change within the time span of a game. It may change within the season. So it's really important that if you're going to employ a mental skills person to come in, that they can access these goals and challenge athletes. Again, I'm going to come back to the coaching role. Think about it. If you've set outcome goals and the player's not achieving those goals, they're going to focus just on the outcome and not so much on why the outcome's not being achieved and the process. So I'm going to talk about that a bit in a moment, but I do want I think most of us as coaches on various courses would have been introduced to SMART goals and trying to make them achievable for the athletes. But the ER is really key for me. Evaluate and then readjust. If we move on, Claire. Problems with goals. Some of the problems that I've seen. Got to recognize their value, understand how to establish them, and recognize how to measure and reflect upon them. I think at times we look at the season and, so you'll get a young boy who's a striker and he'll say, I want to be top goal scorer. Now there's a problem in developing that as a goal. He's not in control of it to start with. It depends who he's playing, who his teammates are, whether he gets service. So we can't just do that in a basic format. It's players need support to set their goals in order for it to fit into the team play as well. And I love the diagram I've used quite a lot with players. We all have a plan, A to B. I'm going to be coach of Canada in 2 years. But we know in order to get that plan to be successful, there'll be ups and downs. But more realistically, it will look like the real life. We're going to swing backwards and forwards. And so if that's real life, we need to be fluid in our goals. We need to adjust those. So this is the types of goals that are out there. So if we hold this one for a moment, Claire, and performance, process, and outcome. Performance goal for me is a goal that you relate to your performance and how you feel within that performance. So if you're playing in a game, how are you performing within that game? Are you performing with confidence, with flair, panache? Are you achieving what you're set out to do? The process goals for me are the most important goals that we should have. I say this because they build towards the outcome goal. And the process goal might be, so I'll give an example, is the young boy who says he's going to be the top goal scorer. When I challenge him, I ask, how are you going to do that? Because like I say, you need service. So rather than being the top goal scorer, can we challenge those players to be in the right position to see opportunities more than score the goals? Because if we look at the outcome goal, which is to be the top goal scorer, and they don't achieve those goals, they failed. And so the confidence will sap out of them. So rather than looking at, I'm going to play on Saturday and I'm going to score a hat trick, can we be looking at, I'm going to play on Saturday, I'm going to be in the right positions, I'm going to have the right frame set to mindset to create scoring opportunities. I'm going to look for rebounds and deflections in order to put me into a position to score goals. So that's the way I like to look at these goals. And so it's performance. How do you feel? The mindset going into the game, preparing the athlete, the process, understand what is needed to achieve the outcome goal. You know, I see some goalkeepers will say, I'm going to keep a clean sheet. How can a goalkeeper determine that they're going to keep a clean sheet when they might be coming up against a top striker in their league who's going to score? He scores every week. So rather than I'm going to keep a clean sheet, should that goal be, I'm going to be ready for every shot. I'm going to make an attempt to get to every shot. And that's not to take away from the outcome goal. It's to focus on what they can control, not what the outcome is. So I hope that makes sense. If we go on again there. So some poor examples here. And so this is the team that I talked to recently. And the first thing was asked to give a technical goal. And I promise you, this team was going to be like that picture there. They're all right-footed and they're all going to work on their left foot and they're all going to improve their left foot ready for the season. So we're going to have a team of Lionel Messi's. Fantastic. And one of the things I want you to think about, and I've mentioned this before, is as a young coach, think of the scenario. If I coached David Beckham many, many years ago, I would have been about the same age coming in to coach him as a U10. If I'd seen David Beckham and started coaching him as a new coach who was coaching the game and not players, I probably would have told David Beckham he needs to work on his left foot. And he probably still would have made a professional soccer player, but it would more likely have been at Accrington Stanley. So when we look at our players and we look at some of the goals, one of the things to consider is not give what the coach wants to hear, not also look for the performance weakness. My left foot's my weakness. Look at your strengths, because I'll argue I don't think David Beckham was an elite player, but he's certainly put himself in that bracket, and with the extrinsic rewards that he's received by making the most of what he had, and that was his right foot. So we need to think about what does the player want and how would it fit in the team, not what the coach wants. Because again, with the team I work with, I went back and challenged some of the players. Why did you say this? Oh, it's what the coach said to do. It's what I need to do. What do you think you need to do? What is your strength? So, you know, it's that engagement. What has the player got about them that's going to impact the game in a successful manner? Outcome focus only. Like I've said, I don't like the outcome focus only, because if you don't achieve it, you're failing, and then the confidence is sapping out. Like I said in the chat, I'm a fan of Leeds, and their top striker is probably the worst finisher I've ever seen in my life. If he looks at his performance on outcomes, he would never take the field. So what does the coach at Leeds look at? He looks at the work rate and the chances and the space the player makes. So we need to look at that with our players, not just the outcome. Also the context of here and now. Where are they when we're looking at goals in their life and then in their training, in the team's environment? So if there's stuff going on outside of the game that's going to impact their performance, we need to understand that and consider that. You can't just be saying you need to do this. So think about that. Goals. not what the coach wants. Outcome focus only is not always the best. Think about the context of where we are. It may be in the season. So if they're going for a promotion, if they're pushing for to avoid relegation, there will be different goals. And again, for development, don't focus on the weakness. I'd say focus on what differentiates each player within a game and what could make the biggest impact on them and their performance for the team. So go on, Claire. Okay. So like I've said, outcome goals. This is why I don't like them as well. They're easy to define. So when I'd done this with the team, they all just said the easiest thing that come in their mind that they thought the coach wanted. Okay, I'm a defender, so I'm going to control the defense and we're not going to concede goals. Easy to divine. It's easy to measure. We only conceded one goal, and that was due to a poor decision by the referee. Nothing was achieved in that goal. So for me, we need to be more challenging to achieve it. So again, the performance linked to the process will come through to the bullseye, the outcome. If the players are working as a unit and following the process, they will get that ultimate outcome. Now, invert your goals for success. And I want to ask you guys to think about this. And some of you would have heard this. The ultimate outcome goal is your dream goal. So I said, I want to coach Canada. So that's my ultimate goal. Then I need to start working backwards. What do I need to do to coach at Canada? I need to get on a high performance team. How do I get on a high performance team? And then you work back looking at the barriers. So go on, Claire. Work back looking at the barriers. What are the barriers that I need to be doing? I need to be coaching more. I need to be coaching with good players. I need to be coaching with better coaches. I need someone to review my performance. So these are the things that I think when we look at our goals, we need to work backwards. Now, the other consideration is not just to come out with one goal. And if you've got time, if you've got a consultant that can work with you, is to look at the holistic approach using the four-corner player development model. So if I'm looking at an athlete, if I'm looking at this young lad trying to jump the hurdle on the steeple jump, what are the physical goal? What is a physical goal I could give him? What is a technical, tactical, a psychological? And in that model, psychological for me means more game sense, decision making, and then the social. I've said this recently in podcasts. At this time of pandemic, normally during the run of the season, the normal whirl of the season, we practice, game, practice. There's no time. And the one corner that we very rarely support is the social. We just expect children and players learn the social. They learn to get on. They learn to do a high five. And I think goal setting, that's something we could really be working on right now. We're not back at the right to play. We're not playing at the moment. It's still social distancing, and from what I hear, until there's a vaccine, we won't get back to the real and essence of playing competitive soccer. So can we use this time to look at some goals with your players on these areas? Do they need to do more game sense understanding? Is there a chance that they can go and review games? Technical, tactical, brilliant at the moment because we've got social distancing. Find a wall and there's your tactical and technical development going on. So if you're going to work with goals for your team in the next little while, I'm saying, can you look at what each player needs to move them forward and an ultimate goal that brings them back using these four? So it might be a central defender who needs to add a few more aspects to the game. It might be speed. So think about that and work with the player. And possibly if it's grassroots and a junior team, work with the parent as well so they are on board. Too often as coaches, we leave the parent out. And I think one of the biggest things that I learned through doing mental skills was you've got to work as a team with the physio, with the AT, with the coach. Everyone's got to be on the same page because it will go pear-shaped if the coach is asking one thing, the AT is asking another, and the parents are seeing another game. So again, when you do this, work as a group. Yeah, Claire. Okay. Like I've said, another key thing is aligning the goals. Improve my left foot as a right fullback. Like I said, it is important that we work on our weaknesses, but we should never forsake our strengths. If I'm playing right back, I'm probably going to be looking to hit long diagonal balls or running with the ball very, very fast at speed. I may need to improve my heading at set plays. So I don't need to work too much on my left foot. And I promise you, the team I work with, they were saying they're going to go out 4 times a week and work on their weaker foot. And I'm asking, what is that going to add to your game once the season hits, once we get back to playing? It's not going to add as much as maybe increasing their speed to run with the ball down the right flank. Once these goals are being aligned for a player, they got to go into the team. And it's important that the team, and I know so many students who have gone off to the States on scholarships, and they get there and the coach is playing a different type of soccer to what they grew up with back here in Alberta. So how will my goals as a right fullback fit into the team goal? If the team is playing a high press and a high defensive line, I've got to be ready to counter a quick counterattack from the other opposition. I need to get down the flanks. You know, we all watch Man City with the flying fullbacks now. So when we set these goals for the individual, it's important that we fit it into the team model as well. So the player knows that this is how it's going to work within the game. They can see that. And that may mean drawing it out and seeing it with the whole team and also with the individual. So I hope that makes sense. And, you know, I think you've got to understand what you are hoping to get from your team and then identify the individuals and what they need to do within the team to make it work. Okay. Right. Some interesting observations from me as a coach, right? Macclesfield Ladies was a girls' team that I started many, many years ago. The female game in England years ago was not very big or successful. So I started this Macclesfield Town Ladies girls, and we started a girls program. And the next thing, the girls wanted to play in a team. So we got a team together, we put them into a league, and it was a 3-year age group because as a young coach, I didn't realize that the league was run by parents, and one of the parents wanted a 3-year age group so his daughter could play with the older girls. So we've gone into a league and we've never really played together as a team. We won 1 game that season, which was fantastic. And it was probably my most successful team. Why do I say that? Because lots of the ladies still in touch with me through social media and still playing soccer. Now, there was 1 game I still remember vividly, and I knew the team we were playing were very, very strong, and I had a choice of 3 fields. And being a smart coach, I chose the smallest field I could because I thought if we can get in their faces, close them down, we'll be good. It won't be so harsh. This team were absolutely scoring cricket scores on the opposition. So we got into the game, and 20 goals later, I realized it didn't work. So for the next game, I set the girls in the dressing room. I said, okay, it didn't work last time, girls. For today, I just want 3 passes from each of you. And I asked each girl individually, can you make 3 passes? Yeah, I can do 3 passes in the game. Brilliant. So girls, that's 33 passes we got to do in this game. And then the doubts started coming in. So I got some parents to do a tally sheet. And I think there was 2 girls that didn't achieve the 3 passes. One was the centre back. So I said, well, okay, I don't mind that because if we're under pressure, you need to get the ball out quickly. And the other was a striker. And I said, well, you shouldn't be passing the ball in the box. You should be trying to score. So again, I just validated their performance. Now, we still didn't win that game, but we didn't lose 20-0. So I changed the focus from just playing onto what we could do to try and improve our performance. So that's one strategy before a game is set those up. The other one is at Hartlepool. When I was at Hartlepool United, I worked with U15 boys, and what we used to do is get a post-it note, and before a game we'd ask a player. So the boy on the right is Joe Tate. Now he ended up playing at Philly Union, and he was a wicked player. But before a game, we'd sit the boys down and say, Joe, what are you going to give me today that you don't normally give me? Joe was my captain. He was very vocal, a great player, but everyone has something, and he knew what his job was. He was centre back. He had to head it. He had to control the defense. But what more can you give me? And he might say, I'm gonna bring the ball out I'm going to run the ball out. I'm going to dribble the ball out more today. So we'd write it on a post-it note, put it above his peg in the dressing room, and leave it there. And then after the game, we'd come in and review it. And the essence of this goal setting was it gave them something to think about on top of their job. So Joe knew his job. He knew all the requirements of that position, but he also had this bringing the ball out under control in his mind. So if he got the opportunity, he'd take it. So again, working with a lot of young girls teams, and those who work with young girls teams will know one of the challenges is getting the players to talk more. So as a striker, the girls may know what they need to do, but we need them to connect to their partner. So post-it would say, communicate, engage with Becky so we can create opportunities. So it just gives, and you shouldn't do too many. I just gave one each game, and it could change each week. But the key was I asked the players to determine it. Now, the Hartlepool boys team, sorry, the performance profile was an absolute key one. And I've mentioned this many times. So when I went into Hartlepool boys, I was working with another coach who was very good, and we lost our first 3 or 4 games. And I joked with him, if we were doing the first team, we'd probably get the sack. Two things happened, and we went the rest of the season undefeated. One was we found a really good striker who was a beast. He just wanted to score. I'd done the performance profile, and it's similar to the post-it. And the profile was, and I just want to spend a couple of minutes, and it is a form of goal setting. We had half an hour before practice to look at mental skills and stuff. So I asked the boys to do a profile of Manchester United and Arsenal. What are the qualities that made them a successful team? And they'll say ability, technique, desire, confidence. And it was interesting because the one word they left off was fun. Now, these boys were 15. They were 18 months from a youth contract. So they were very anxious. The last thing their parents probably said when they left the car to come to us in the dressing room was, don't mess up. Do your best, don't mess up. So they were really anxious. And I'd go in and be jovial and try and joke, and it wouldn't cut it. So we'd done this performance profile, and we wrote out the criteria, including have fun. And we'd play a game, and after it, I'd mark it. I'd ask the boys, so did we challenge? Did we show more heart than the other team? Did we work harder than them? And did we have fun? Now, if we'd won, fun would probably be up 10 or something, because the boys were pleased. So we'd do it straight after the game, and then the next training session would be on a Tuesday night, and I'd do it again. I'd say, okay, boys, I want to go back and review it. Did we really have fun? You know, it was a horrid game. Referee wasn't too great. It was wet and muddy. Did you really have fun? And by doing this, we got the boys to focus on some of the areas of weakness and strength. So, like I say, fun was a very low score when we started. Another one may have been confidence. So before a game, I'd say we've got to focus on our confidence and trusting each other, and make sure you have fun out there, enjoy the game. And then as the season went on, it may have been something else. They would change every game, and some would go up, some would come down. So it may be we didn't challenge enough in a game. So remember, boys, we've got to be first to the ball. This is what we're looking at in the performance today. So it's rather than just doing a pep talk, okay, we're playing Scunthorpe today, we've got to go and beat them, we've got to go and get the goals. That didn't work. This for me really worked. And like I say, we went through the rest of the season without losing a game. It was incredible. So 3 real case scenarios that I've used in my coaching, but from a mental skills approach. You know, and some of the other ones here, points from games, I see lots of clubs, pro clubs, will look at a set of 4 games and say, oh, we're playing West Ham, we should get 3 points there. Tottenham, probably another 3. Manchester United, probably get 4 off of them, but then Liverpool, we may not. So for me, they don't give the process. They're just outcome goals. What do you need to do to get those 10 points off those first 3 games? And it may be, you know, we see it all the time at the moment. Man City, high press, high possession. And sadly, a lot of teams are finding them out. I've said earlier, top goal scorer in a season is an outcome goal. Stop Lionel Messi. It doesn't give me a direction. And we need to think about the direction that we're going to do. How are we going to stop Lionel Messi? we're going to push him onto his right foot. So think about some of those. Now, going on, I just want you to think about how we do it with the players. So planning for success. Don't say it, think it. I've said working a little cohort with parents, assistant coaches. Assistant coaches definitely need to know what the goals you're setting for the player, but maybe also broadcast them to be accountable. And then this is more for the players. So share them. If my son sets a goal with his coach, share it with me. So broadcast it. Be accountable. Mum, the coach wants me today to do X, Y, Z, and then reflect upon them daily. If we have a goal and we never reflect, so like I say, the team I had, work on your left foot. I know they haven't been going out and doing it. We need to reflect. Why didn't I do it? What were the barriers today? How can I make these better? Okay, so go on, Claire. And understand that development is also fluid. You know, I speak to some runners who go out, and I go out some days, and I run most days, and some days I just cannot get my legs moving. Other days I'm flying. The same with a soccer player. So understand that some days it's just not there, and that's not a problem. If it's not there, we shouldn't go back. And there's a coach that I've been linking to in England, and he's talking about this is a problem we see in coaching, is the 30-second coach, where it's not working. He's not passing the ball enough. So we go in, we correct him and tell him he must pass the ball. But that's just that moment. It doesn't develop his long-term game, or it doesn't reflect on why he's not passing that ball so much. So go on, Claire. Yeah. Right. Goal clarity and acceptance. In order to pursue a goal, the athlete must believe it is achievable. So sometimes coaches will set goals that a player will say, okay, yeah, because they're not going to dispute what we ask as coaches, but they may not think they're achievable. So you've got to get that agreement that it is a goal that I can do. So if my goal is to hit 80% of my passes, is it achievable in a game? You know, and I've seen this in the goals that this team was set. And I could get 80% passes simply by passing the ball backwards to my supporting players. Brilliant. Is that what we want, or do we want to try and get the killer pass in the game? So there's risk that needs to be considered. Again, determining the actions that are required, the element of risk. If you're going to make that killer pass, you've got to understand there's going to be an element of risk. Also, agreement with athletes, and again, the purpose of supporting the team performance. Go on, Claire. So working as a team. Now, I want to reflect in a minute with some of you about on what goals you've set and how you've used them. So if you can, right, if some of you will be back on the field now, and one of the things we should have been doing now is really getting that social engagement. Have you set goals? And if you can, just in the chat, share with me what goals you set and what ones have been successful. Because for me, I'd love this to be collaborative. If you've got a strategy that works really well with your team, let's share it. And if you want to unmute and come on and discuss it, I'd love that. I want players to embrace the journey and really understand that every champion has experienced adversity and had to overcome obstacles. I don't know one champion from any sport that has not had to refocus his mindset and his goals. So what are the obstacles that are going to stop us getting to our goals? Okay, so if we want to win the league, what are the obstacles that are going to overcome that? And some of them we won't be able to control. Some of them might be the weather, the referee. So what can we control in our goal setting to achieve our objective? Yeah, and again. So no two journeys are the same. Who are these two players? Does anyone know? Can anyone shout in? The top one, easy. Who's
Messi.
Who's it?
Lionel Messi.
Who's the bottom one?
Can't quite see it.
Any Chelsea fans on there?
Oh, it's Vialli.
Thank you, Ian. So what is the difference between these two guys? Sorry, go back, Claire. Yeah. What is the difference between Vialli and Messi? Anyone know anything about Vialli's background, his upbringing? So I want to pose it here, and I've used this quite a lot with teams. I don't know how many of you have watched The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. Lionel Messi come from poverty. He was small, and he got taken to Barcelona, as we all know. Vialli come from a very wealthy background. Silver spoon, didn't need to work too hard, but that was his fight. He wanted to prove to people that he wasn't given a career because of who he was. So every time he went out, his challenge, his goal was to prove that he was good enough to play professional soccer. Lionel Messi's was a totally different beast. He had to prove, and he, again, there would have been extrinsic benefits for his family trying to overcome adversity. So two players who played both played at a high level. One is still playing, but they used some of their adversity to set their own goals. You know, and I've said this many times to players. Can anyone tell me what they think Lionel Messi's fight might be at the moment? Because he doesn't need to kick another ball. He's earned so much money. His mum and dad are never going to go down the supermarket again. What would Lionel Messi's fight be now? Age, not so much. He's still going to get out and play. If I was to read into his mindset, I would say his fight is some guy called Cristiano. They've both been fighting to be the top dog for many years, and that's something that fires him and keeps him going. So if you watch The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, it was incredible how he found a fight and used it as a goal for himself and his team to drive them on. There was one incident where a young rookie walked past him in a game and had scored quite a few goals, points in the basketball. And the rookie didn't say anything to Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan told everyone that he did. And he used it to fire on his own ambition and set his goals that he was going to overcome this challenge from a young pretender. Go on, Claire. So quickly, I'm going to open it up in a moment. I'd love some discussion for some people to come on and share some goal setting. Some of the take-home messages from myself is anyone can use mental skills in a training, but it shouldn't undermine your primary role as a coach. So if we're focusing just on the mental skills, we may negate the coaching. Agree on the goal type and objective and the process that leads to the outcome. And I see a lot of teams doing this, playing this way now. You know, we've seen Liverpool, Manchester United in Champions League, where they carry on doing the things that they're good at rather than worrying about the score. When you come to making goals, if it's a team goal, an individual goal, a coaching staff goal, make a statement of intent, write it down and publicly declare it. So people know that they're striving for the same goal together. And then reflect upon performance and learning. Readjust. And, you know, I've just done an interview with some other coaches. And when I started coaching, and I'll reflect on this, when I started coaching, I was taught how to coach the game, and I was tested on an educational course on coaching the game. So when I went into coaching, everything was focused on the game and getting the outcome that I wanted. Now, when I look back, and I know some of you may smile, but if you don't win, you learn. Whereas when I started, if you don't win, you're a loser. You know, second is nowhere. And that mentality's got to change. When we don't get the results we want or the outcome we want, we've got to think of the learning that we've done in order to readjust our goals and push our players to go on and achieve and strive for those goals. Can anyone come on and share any of the goal setting strategies that they may have used? Or do I invite someone on? John, yeah.
Well, yeah, myself, like I'm fairly new to Canada. I've been here for 5 years. Kind of came into Caldale, it's a small town.
Yeah.
Trying to get the interest up and stuff. So we started off obviously just house league and summer games, stuff like that. And we always, summer games for Southern Alberta, we always came up against bigger towns like Lethbridge, Medicine. First year we came third, which was fairly decent for a small town. You know, we've got a small group to pick from. And then because we came third, obviously the next year, same group of kids, we wanted to push on, try and do a little better. And we did. We came second to Lethbridge, I believe. And then again, just keep on trying to improve. And the next year after that, we actually beat Lethbridge in the final. So it was every year we were.
So what goals did you use for that? Did you set goals for players, or did they just say they want to beat Lethbridge?
Yeah, Lethbridge was always the team they wanted to beat. Obviously, being Caldale just outside, right? So some of the kids knew some of the kids on the Lethbridge team, and I didn't really have to set the goals. The kids set the goals for themselves. Like every time, they were a hungry group of kids, and every time they were setting their own goals really.
So it's like Michael Jordan. It's the fire and the fight within. They found the fight.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ian, you've said their character traits as goals. What do you mean by character traits? Can you come on, Ian?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to basically just highlight some of the behaviors that they expect that they're going to bring as an individual, but also some of the behaviors they expect from their teammates. So being a good teammate, being respectful, showing good sportsmanship, etc.
How do you set those goals?
We just send it out to the players, let them think about it. They submit what they think is appropriate, and then I share them with the team. And then we take where people have suggested the same kind of behaviors and traits. We'll take that as, you know, what the team want to see within their team, within their performance.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because whenever I've worked with a provincial team, I do it as in a team group. I get a flip chart and I ask the girls to come up with the team rules. And I've done about 4 provincial teams, and they always come up with the same rules. You know, language, curfew, supporting each other, positive. So again, by setting rules and getting the players to set those, that's a form of goal setting as well.
Yeah.
A behavioural goal setting. Has anyone else, before we wrap up, got any other ideas or suggestions or problems they've had with goal setting with their team? No? We will wrap up. I want to thank again Claire and Matt have joined us tonight, and next week Matt is going to be looking at motivating. So again, mental skills, it's a key part to soccer development for children. And like I'm saying, it shouldn't just be for the elite and those who are nearly there. It should be for young children to give them the confidence to play with the ball. So Matt's going to be looking at motivating your players next week. So I hope you can join us for that. If you have got any feedback or any questions, please come to me directly at jclub@albertasoccer.com, and I'd be happy to answer those, even in relation to your team goal setting. And if you want any recommendations or advice on that, and trying to even, like I say, aligning the parents to understand the goals that you've got, I think is a real key one. You know, parents quite often, and I've said this in previous webinars and that, parents are looking at the here and now. As coaches, we look at development. There's a different perspective, and we need to get everyone on that same page. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hope it's been of interest. Like I say, give us any feedback, and please join Matt next week where we will be looking at motivating your players.